Hey girls, and welcome to season 4 of the Hey Girl podcast. I'm your host, Bethany Needham. This season, we get to hear stories of faithfulness from stay-at-home mamas, business entrepreneurs, some amazing single ladies, your dearest friends, and your favorite authors. We hope these stories will continue to encourage you to run your race in your place. For more information and to connect with us, go find us on Instagram and Facebook. We're at HeyGirlPod, or you can join our email list through my website, bethanyneedham.com. As always, thanks for listening. If it weren't for you, I would literally be a crazy person talking to myself in a microphone. But thanks to your listening and sharing this podcast, I get to be a crazy person talking to you through a microphone. So grab a cup of coffee or a cold can of seltzer and let's get this episode started. This week, you get to hear from my real life friend and a brand new Hey Girl podcast team member, Danielle Doan. I love Danielle, and oh my goodness, I cannot wait for you to hear her story. But before we get to the episode, I want to share with you another super encouraging review we got this week. It comes from Sarah W. 5 stars. She said, I'm so grateful to have found this podcast. It was completely by accident. I found an older episode interview with Jen Wilkin, but I kept listening. There's a wide variety of topics, but all applicable to our lives as women and centered on God. This podcast is real talk with real people. I find it so encouraging in my stay-at-home mom life to feel like I get a friend in my home anytime I need adult time. There's no judgment, just realness. I don't have enough words to really describe how this podcast builds me up in my heart and my mind. Thank you, Hey Girl. Thank you, Sarah. I am so glad you found us by accident, and I loved your description so much about feeling as a stay-at-home mom like this is your opportunity to have adult friends over. That's fantastic. So thank you for taking the time to review, Sarah. For those of you listening, if you haven't taken those few moments, it means so much to us and helps our podcast grow each and every week. So this week, like every other week, Sarah, I hope you love having my friend Danielle in your home with you because she is a riot. She's so much fun and so much energy, and I know you're going to learn so much from her. So without further ado, let's get to the episode with my friend Danielle. Danielle Doan, you are a real life friend.
Yes.
And also somebody that I greatly admire. I have loved for as long as I've known you to have watched from a distance, just God working in your life. But in recent days, God in his, I don't know if it's his hilarious sense of humor or his great kindness, that we live kind of near each other.
I know! Like, in New Hampshire, it does constitute as neighbors.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think so too. If it's like, you're about 30 minutes from us, to me, that's easy. That's easy
nothing.
driving. And, okay, it gets weirder. As of this morning, our kids go to the same school.
I love that so much! I'm not even kidding. When you told me that this morning, it made my heart so happy.
And then it just amped up when I get my son's schedule, when I drop him off today, and who's teaching him Bible this morning but your husband, Mr. Andrew Doan.
I love
just
it.
What?
It's very cool.
What? I love it. So, Danielle, not everyone, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but there will be some people who don't know you, who maybe have just started listening, so they're like, I didn't hear your first episode. So give us kind of a snapshot. Who are you, Danielle?
Wow, that's like a loaded question. Who are you? I'm actually reading a devotional right now called Who Am I? It's really
sound
good.
kind of deep and philosophical. Who are you really?
Well, I am a wife. My husband and I have been married for 15 years, which is kind of crazy.
Congrats.
I have 3 children. My oldest is now taller than me, and it's weird because I just don't feel like I'm old enough to have a child that's taller than me. I don't know. It's really weird.
Did you ever feel like when your kids were growing up, I don't know, you can say no and you don't have to relate with me on this. I always thought I would feel old enough when I got to the things that were older.
Yeah.
And the things that were older keep coming, and I don't feel, other than like aches and pains and body doing. No. That's another episode for another time.
It's like we're supposed to be qualified somehow because we've reached this stage of life, and yet I look at my children and I still feel like that first day I brought them home, like, what do I do with this?
Yes.
I don't know.
I literally told someone the other day, I was like, I feel like that parent that missed every lesson along the way. Yeah. Like, that people look at me and they are like, oh, you have a high schooler. You must know things about raising children. And I'm like, I shouldn't I? Oh, yeah. Oh, I should have paid closer attention.
Yeah, I have 3, a boy, a girl, and a boy. My 2 oldest are in middle school at the same school as your son. And my youngest is homeschooling this year. I only laugh because I have told God that I don't want to homeschool my children, and yet it just keeps happening. So obviously there's something to be learned, although my husband is co-homeschooling with me, so that's good.
Okay.
That does help.
So he like teaches some of the classes or just takes some of the days?
So today is his homeschool day.
Got it.
Tomorrow is his homeschool day. Wednesdays are my day. Yay! Which means we don't do much. I literally have a play date planned.
She's like, gym class.
That's right. We're doing art and we're doing a field trip. I don't know. Thursdays,
you and I homeschool very, very similar.
Great. Thursday is his day, and then Friday we split the day.
Okay.
So, you know.
I like that. Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. We've had some big changes in our life recently, and some, as in current society, I think it's more socially acceptable, but we've had role reversals from the traditional, maybe even Christian quote. I've got air quotes going there.
I was going to be like, there are definitely air quotes.
So yeah, we do things a little differently now, but it's been good.
All right, I'd love to leave people hanging. You know what? Let's leave them hanging.
Okay.
We're going to come back to those changes in quote unquote traditional living. Let's back up a little. Give a little picture of, you are somebody, the thing that I love and appreciate about you is anyone who knows you, either follows you on the social medias, whatever it is, of all the things they know about you, and they know you love fitness, your crazy curly hair, whatever it is, they know, girl, you love Jesus.
Yes.
And so I want to know, when did your relationship with Jesus actually begin?
Okay. I did not grow up in a Christian home. My parents got divorced when I was little, and I grew up mostly nominally Catholic. My mom remarried when I was 8, and I would say that was really the start of my introduction to Christianity and Jesus. My stepdad and my mom would drop us off at church in the morning with our cousins. They would go get breakfast, and they'd come back and pick us up.
Free childcare.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So we were with our cousins, and we were learning about Jesus, and that was really the beginning of it, where I heard Jesus preached for the first time. And I remember thinking, I don't have to be good to be accepted, because in the Catholic religion, that's what I always feared, having to be a good girl. And knowing that I wasn't, I wanted to be, but I knew I fell short. I just knew it. And so it was the first time that I heard I didn't have to be good enough. God's goodness was all I needed. So I accepted Jesus as my Savior when I was 10. My mom got saved right before that, and she actually prayed with me as a new believer, and we got baptized, my sister, my mom, and I, all on the same day. Okay,
so then, not to go on a rabbit trail, but where did, in all of that, was your mom meeting Jesus at breakfast while you were in church?
Okay, sorry. So
those were some good scrambled eggs.
She ended up eventually coming to church with us because we basically wanted her to. We asked her to, and Jesus was calling her. So she did end up coming to church with us eventually and left breakfast behind.
The amount of stories that you hear about how God begins his work in the heart of a child who then reaches to their own parents, and like you see full, sometimes like entire family, parents, grandparents come to know him with something that started with a child. I just think
it's pretty amazing.
I think it's such a beautiful, it also is one of those, as a prior youth director, that I just think, man, how important, like, for kids to be like inviting other kids to church and youth group and all of those things, because you just don't know. You don't know the power of what that can do for a family. That's awesome. Okay, so 10 years old, you started following Jesus, and I mean, you're only 21 now, so not a lot of years have passed, but give me like just a couple of really, what were some major things along just in your journey that have really shaped who you are today? Because then we're going to talk a lot about just where you're at right now, and also let people off the hook for wondering. We just left them hanging in the beginning.
I think part of what shaped my growing up, some of the churches we attended when I was younger tended towards legalism a little bit and rule following, and that kind of fed into that. Even though, you know, I wanted Jesus, I didn't want to have to be good enough. It kind of fed into that desire to be good enough. Oh, I can still work to be good. Which
is really, I'm just thinking, if someone's not used to necessarily that language, it's really what legalism is saying.
Yes,
it's saying
you need to keep working for your salvation after God's already paid for it.
Yeah, keep on doing the right thing.
So as much as I look back and I wish I didn't have to go through that and carry that burden, I think that it made later on recognizing God's grace so much sweeter. So I would say another big turning point in my relationship with God, my walk with him, was meeting my husband, because he's one of those like super deep thinkers who's always questioning with that right attitude of like, I just want to know you more, God, and let's figure this out. And I feel like we just started on this journey together of, who is God? Yes, we're saved, but what does that mean for us?
Yeah.
And I think after we went through those first 2 kids in those early stages of parenthood, where you really feel like your whole world is falling apart because you have no clue what's happening and no one's sleeping, and it's like all you can do is go, why, God, help me, save me, you know, like that's it. That's all you can do is just cry, run to Jesus. I think that really was a big turning point in our walk of faith. He brought some key people into our life then to shepherd us well and point us to Jesus of grace and the Jesus of the Bible, rather than man-centered Jesus, what we want him, how we want him to fit into this perfect little tidy box, and everything's supposed to look so perfect, and you follow these rules and it's all gonna be great.
Yeah.
But that just isn't how life is.
Yeah.
So that was really key for us, having some really good mentors who just really helped shepherd our souls in grace.
So I love that it really seems like for you, a big portions of who you are today were shaped by people, that God brought people into your life, which makes so much sense because you are such a people person, that I just think it's the kindness and goodness of God that knows those things about us. Like God knew that you as a people person, what would be most influential, what draws you,
I love people,
is people. Yeah. Whereas other people, it might be, you know, who are maybe more intellectual or whatever, needed more of that, whether it's classroom or a certain book or something. That I just think that's such a beauty of the gospel too, is that God meets us who we are, where we're at. It's not this kind of elusive game where he's like, try and find me. So those were some big moments that led kind of to where you are now. But you've had, I would say, I'm going to butcher this in terms of time frame, but it's been in the last number of years. I'm going to throw 5 out there but it's probably more than that. But you've there's been some major shifts in your life in terms of your business, your as an ADD person, I just think like focusing in on something very intently that God's been doing some pretty amazing things through. So why don't you tell me a little bit? I know I'm wrong on the date. So first, absolutely correct me. And then be like, you're the worst, Bethany. We're not even friends.
I would actually say in the past 10 years, there was a big shift. Really, when my daughter was born, she just turned 11, and she was a very difficult child. And at that time, my Nana had passed away in some just a traumatic way. It was really hard, and I ended up gaining weight, and it was very hard. Everything was hard and dark. And I'm kind of one of those people where I'm usually really, really high, but if something gets me low, I'm really, really low.
You're passionate no matter what.
Yes. And it was just a low, dark time, and I didn't understand things like depression, and I didn't really know how to reach out to people. I thought I was still supposed to be happy and taking care of the kids, and I was supposed to love being a mom, and everything was supposed to be rosy, but I just didn't. I don't even know how else to put it. I just didn't.
I love that you said, I don't love that you said it, but I think it's important that you said you thought it was supposed. So, and maybe you don't remember necessarily, but I am curious for you, where did those preconceived ideas come from of how you were supposed to, is this something in terms of like a scripture-based thing? Is this more like from what I saw? And we don't need to get into specifically it was Pinterest, though there was no Pinterest when the kids were little. But things that you saw, or even just your own voices in your head of this is how it's supposed to be.
I think a lot of it was voices in my head of just the expectation of being a mom. There wasn't as much of that social media influence that I know moms can struggle with nowadays, but there was the one-on-one influence of moms. Just, this is what you do, and your house needs to be tidy, and dinner needs to be on the table, and you better make something yummy, and iron those shirts for your husband, and everybody will be happy, and you... I didn't know why I didn't feel fulfilled in this role that I knew God had called me to. Like motherhood, He gave me these children, right? I mean, I had them, 2 of them anyway. So I felt the pressures, probably societal pressures, the, quote unquote Christian, happy Christian home that we were supposed to have. And yet I felt so unfulfilled, and I knew I was supposed to do more, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know what, and I didn't know why I felt this way.
So I think this is incredibly important for people to hear, especially women who are in that kind of same place in their life. And sometimes it's not even, I'd like to say young moms especially, they can wrestle with this, but I think single women who are not necessarily, they're where God has them, they're doing what God's called them to do, but that you described it so well, when you feel unfulfilled, but you are following Jesus. How do you, when God has kind of laid on your heart, okay, but I really sense that God is doing something more, but then fight the guilt of, but I should be happy doing this thing. And so, again, I know your story, so I have this sneak peek, but God obviously did begin to kind of reveal to you something that did not pull you away from or keep you from the thing that He'd called you. Like you said, I knew I was to be a mom.
Yes.
And you have said it many times in posts, but actually helped you do better in the very role that you knew you were called to do. So what did that look like, and how did that play out?
It looked extremely unconventional. I had a friend who encouraged me on my health journey, and through that helped me see that taking care of my body was not only serving God, but it was serving my family. And it was just so amazing how God used my husband to encourage me, how he used this group of ladies that our accountability group, and then my coach and mentor, Elizabeth, to just push me in this direction that I never thought I would go, because if you knew me 10 years ago, you would know that health, fitness, exercise was not on my radar. I was the girl in college PE who did the least amount to get the most possible grade she could, but it was not my jam. And yet God just opened up this portal for me to realize when we minister to people physically, he opens up the door to help us minister to them spiritually. And that's what happened to me in my own journey personally. And as I saw this new venue to help women who I could see they were in that same place I had been, and I wanted to help take them from where they were and that just place of unfulfillment to just finding whatever it is God had them to do. And maybe it was being the best mom ever, and they loved cooking, but they didn't have it in them to do it because they weren't taking care of themselves. And they didn't see that, you can just figure out what it is God has you to do. And it can look a little different sometimes. Yeah. So I said yes to Beachbody coaching 7 years ago after a fight with my husband about the kitchen floor. Which, I don't know, is that a story for another time?
Well, you opened that Pandora's box. We might as well go there.
I'm a pretty passionate person. So the whole fight came about because I had washed those floors that was my job, because it was.
Yeah.
And he came in not thinking, and I just lost it. And he's like, why on earth are you upset about something as silly as floors? And I said, because that is what I have to do. He was like, well, then we need to find something else for you to do. And from there, God brought Beachbody coaching along, and the rest has kind of been history.
I think one of the things I really do appreciate about you in particular, because truth be told, we live in a day and age where it feels like more and more people are selling something, doing something. Yeah. My husband and I probably shouldn't admit this, but we have this ongoing joke about hey, if you have an issue, I can sell you and then we list 7 different things that a wrap pill, something that will totally. And I have taught some in the area of health and often come at it from the reality is that most programs work. The majority of these things that you see out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's some what they call snake oil kind of things. Yeah. But a lot of these things absolutely work. If you use them
right,
properly, appropriately, whatever, you will see results. The real trick is finding what is for you individually, because everybody's different. Season of life, body, your responses to things, all of these things. And what I've appreciated about your ministry is you've been very vocal about, this really worked for me, and therefore I want to help as many people as I can in this arena. You coach, you have teams, but this might not be the thing for you. But really, I also want you to find what works
for you. Yes. Just do it.
Because what you said is true. Because ultimately, the most important thing is if you take care of yourself, you're gonna be better at all of these other things, whatever the things are that God has for you. When you're better. When you take care of yourself physically, if you're a mom, you have more energy. I always say, my husband and I are doing Whole30. This is one of those things that weirdly for us has always been very successful is a bad word, but we both enjoy it. We can stick to it. It's something. And when we do it, we both always say it feels like the fog just lifts in your brain when you kind of cut out all the junk, from what you're eating. And then we just feel better. We feel more energy, all of these things. And so I've loved and appreciated your message along the way that, you know what, if it's Beachbody, I'm absolutely here to help. If it's not, I just want to help you figure out, like, what is the thing? And that's where you've taken, this has been, like, for you, saying this has been so impactful for me in my life, and I want to share this. Like, I want you to be successful in whatever it is. And then you've done such a great job of tying into that, the faith component, because you're not speaking to any longer 100% Christian audience.
Right.
So let's talk for a minute about this. So we know you're doing Beachbody right now. 7 years ago, you began, which if you're not familiar, people can look this up or look back at your previous episode because you talk a lot more about this.
Yeah, I went into a lot more details.
A lot more detail you can learn just about that specifically. But part of this journey for you has been a social media presence, of building a business, not just privately in your home and in your office. Let's talk about that. What did that transition look like? Going from stay-at-home mom with your babies, like trying to just survive, fighting with your husband about the kitchen floor, to, hey, all of a sudden I have thousands of people following me, waiting to see what I have to say every day.
You know, that has been a very transitional journey too, because social media is constantly changing. And if you want to use social media for any type of good, you have to adapt with it.
Yeah.
And so that's been a learning curve for me, but I've also loved it. I love social media. I think it's an incredible tool. I've loved digging into it, and I love because it's people. Social media is people, and I love people. So to me, it's been this like treasure trove that's just opened up. So I really dug into Facebook when I first started on my journey, and I honestly just shared what I was doing. My goal was to share, invite people to join me if it was the right fit, and add value of some sort to their lives. Like whether it's encouragement or it's okay, I'm there too, or, you know, just that connection to know it's okay to be human, and God has us. He really does.
All right, give us those three again, because I think that they're important.
What did I say?
Was share.
Share what I'm doing.
Yep.
Just share, because people either relate to that or maybe find themselves in it, or be able to, oh, well, I could do that if she's doing it.
And by doing, you're talking about, these are the things I'm doing to take care of myself, and like positive. Okay, so share's number one. What's number two? Inviting
people to join me.
Okay.
So, or just encouraging them to go, like, do it, do something, just whatever it is. Whether it's inspiring someone to like start their own business, I don't know, or start their own wellness journey, or just walk with Jesus a little bit more every day. And then what was the last one?
The last. Okay, so you were share, invite, and then
I was like,
add.
really in it.
I know, but add value. Yeah.
Like, it's not, social media is not what I can get out of it. It's, I've always tried, what can I give? Because you have to be giving. And I just think that that's a good, like, open hands. Open hands can hold so much more. If we're closed-fisted, then we can't give, and then you don't receive. So open hands is my policy.
Part of why just having you repeat that too is, so we're talking, Hey Girl is very much run your race in your place, right? And we talked beforehand, but one of the things, a big part of your race in this season is your platform on social media. And I am in a totally different space in terms of, like, when you say, I love social media, I was telling you before we started, like, oh, I just really have a hard time. And here is the thing, though, that you cannot deny, even with my own wrestlings with, like, oh, social media can drive me absolutely crazy, is for this day and age, for this generation, the world that we live in, which is the race we're called to. I was not, though I think God may have accidentally delayed my birth. I should have been born in Little House on the Prairie days. But this is where I live, and social media is a platform like none other. So we talked about this, but real quick, how many followers on Instagram do you have?
I have 18,000 followers on Instagram.
So basically the idea was, in what place in our life, even for you, and it may happen someday for you. I'm not trying to discredit what God could do, but like at this point, when are you standing up on a daily basis in front of 18,000 people with the ability to teach, like to speak truth and life into people's lives? Like, what a gift when you look at it that way. Yeah. But here's what you said that I feel like is so important for people to hear, is your intentionality with social media, that heart to give and to serve and to add value into people's lives, I think is really the game changer in it. Because where I feel like myself, or I get frustrated with social media, is when it becomes the platform for me to tell you my opinions on everything and then to go after you about your opinions on everything. Yeah. But to see it as this opportunity to, like, in what ways today can I share? Like, I think that's beautiful, sharing, because that's the connection point, right?
Right.
Like, here's what I'm doing in my life. It may or may not work for you. The cheerleader side, which you're just like, hey, come join me, or go do something else. I don't care. Just whatever. Yeah, you've got this. But then for you to be intentional, like, what can I put out there that's really actually benefiting people? Like, I almost just want to pause and be like, everybody just think for a second. Who is using their social media like this? And if we're not, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I love that. Tell me, though, here's where I get lost. What does that look like on a daily basis? Because, girl, you do have a significant following right now, but you also have to keep up with this. It's like an ongoing. So what is that? Give me like a dawn to dusk kind of picture of that platform in your ministry there.
Okay, so Instagram, I've recently switched over to Instagram. I just found that it was a happier place. Facebook to me has gotten too political, and not that there isn't a place for politics, but I mean political as in just like there's no space for joy. I don't know. It's really, and that was weighing me down. So I dug into Instagram, and I just found overall people were happier, more welcoming, and just nicer on Instagram. So I kind of dug into that and decided I was just going to go all in with Instagram. It's a great platform for sharing, inviting, and just giving back to people. When you have any social media platform, you can't speak to everybody. You have to kind of narrow down what your focus is, and thankfully you still get to speak to a lot of people. Right. But trying to speak to everyone makes it very hard to reach anyone.
Ooh, that's good.
So I narrowed down what I wanted my social media to be, because ultimately it is my platform, and I get to choose that. I could let people dictate, well, I don't want to offend people, but at the same time, this is my platform. If they don't want it, they can go somewhere else.
Get off my platform.
Hopefully they'll stay with me, because we have a lot of fun. So my name is Curly Fit Mom. And I said, those are my 3 main things that I'm going to talk about. Now, in my bio, I do say that I love Jesus. So there's a whole lot of Jesus in my social media.
She draws them in, and then wham.
And I found this whole community of curly girl people sharing their hair. And I thought, well, this looks like fun. And it has been, I call it my tent making, because Paul had the opportunity to minister to people through his tent making. And I have this whole platform that is opened up because of curly hair. Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the people who message me daily, because I sprinkle in curly hair, fitness, and mom life, Jesus into my entire day. and that they've just been encouraged, and wow, I can't believe that you talk about Jesus in your stories. That just gives me such hope. And will you pray for me about this? It's a ministry that I didn't even know could exist. So yeah, a day in the life of Curly Foot Mom. Here we go.
Yes, please.
The first thing I do in the morning after I've worked out and I've read my Bible, I do those first every day. I typically share my workout on social media after that. On my stories. Insta stories are where it's at. So I share my workout, and you'll see almost the same thing every day from me, with little weird random fun in between. I share a clip from what I'm reading for personal growth and development. Usually it's my spiritual growth that I share. I share a clip from that in my stories, and then from there we talk about hair, and I do little weird things, and they never go right, or they're crazy and wonky. I share about just whatever is happening. Like today I shared that I was going to come here and do a podcast.
Oh, yay!
I try and ask people what they want. Because typically when you start to dig into any kind of niche on social media, people will be looking for something from you. So I try and ask people what they want and go from there and offer value. And I don't actually, it's kind of funny because when I started my social media journey, I would post 3 times a day on Facebook and writing copy and coming up with inspiration on Facebook. It was a lot of work, but typically on Instagram, I only do maybe 3 posts a week. And those I tend to, just try and add value somehow, solve someone's problem, encourage, inspire, just something. And it's so much easier, but stories are my jam.
So you said something I think is good for us to hear, not only in the Instagram world, but this is just in general, when you're serving people, is, gosh, what if we took the time to ask people what they actually need and want instead of, let's be real, I've been so guilty of this in the past, just presuming this is what you need, so I am going to give it to you. And for you to actually take the time to listen to people who come to you and it's like, hey, I'm really wrestling with this thing, and then to be able to respond to that. And now in the area of social media, what's cool is you're responding to maybe one person or 2 or whatever, but the number of people who maybe had that same, like, oh, that's so helpful.
Right. Yeah. No, it's very true.
So about 3 posts a week. So that's basically on, we're getting into like the nitty gritty, but I think it's, one, it's helpful for me, and hopefully that means it's helpful for other people. So then, do you plan these in advance? I know that social media has this ability to, like people talk about, scheduling out your posts and all of these things. Or are you like, I feel like by looking at your face and knowing your personality, you're like, wherever the spirit leads.
Right. There's a lot of talk about posting plans and having a monthly social media plan and targeting and marketing plan. I don't do any of that.
It makes me like you more.
I just totally like, ooh, maybe I'll do this week. Like, I try and think through and see what people maybe have been asking me a lot of questions about. Yeah. Because I get a lot of repeat questions. And so I feel like, okay, if I don't already have something I can point them to, then I need to make something. But no, I don't plan anything.
So then in that, about how many hours a day do you feel like it takes to maintain kind of where you're at right now? And was it different building it? Which I feel like in what you're doing, it kind of maybe always feels like building it because you're doing the same thing.
Definitely. I think there's always building that happens.
Right.
I think part of it is it's just fun for me. When I lost my joy in social media, I had to kind of reevaluate why. And I think that really just trying to find your joy in it is really important. I don't think forcing yourself to social media unless you can figure out, where is it I can serve and find my joy in this. So I finally think I've got to that point. I would probably say because it is my job now. I have several things that I do for work on Instagram now.
Yeah.
And it is paying the bills. So I spend about 3 hours a day of my concentrated work time on social media, answering questions, following up with people, encouraging them. I honestly, I could go into my social media and my messages like looking for people to sell to, because I do sell as a part of Beachbody, but to me, it's that open hand policy. If they leave encouraged, then I feel like I've done my job, whether or not they ever buy from me. And hopefully when they have that need, they'll come to me.
Yeah.
If not, that's their choice. But I hope that I give enough to people that they will come to me when they need that help with whatever it is.
Yeah. And you alluded to it again, but I feel like this would be a good time to shift gears. This is not just a side hustle for fun. Like, this business and what you do has built to the point that you are now, like, this is how you're paying the bills.
Yes.
And not only that, but we said a little bit about role reversal this year in particular. It has been you and your husband agreeing to this kind of shift of you are, I actually don't even really like the term like primary, what do they call it? Whatever.
Breadwinner.
Yeah, because I'm like,
know.
It takes a team.
Oh man,
just
it is.
Who's the paycheck and who's whatever. But for you guys right now, it has been, you've kind of shifted gears where you're like, my business is going to be able to pay our bills. How did we get here? So
We're still wondering that question. How did we get here?
So where does that money primarily, I mean, not like show me your tax return, but like when you live in this world, how does that, is it something that people can legitimately think of as like, this isn't just something I do for fun, like I'm actually making money.
And thankfully, God has grown this, and I have to put an income disclaimer here.
I've seen it on your face.
I might even have to read it. I'm not saying specific income, but you have to work hard and be diligent, and Beachbody does not guarantee any level of...
That's pretty good. I think that's what I've read.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Basically, if you don't do the work, the money's not going to flow in. You got to work for it.
It's work hard.
And it's not guaranteed either.
No. Thank you. There you go. Not guaranteed.
Also, I'm not paid by Beachbody.
I think we've covered the full income disclaimer. So Andy just spliced that together. But where were we going with this?
How do you turn this into something that actually pays your bills? Yeah.
So I have built over the past 7 years a team of coaches who are succeeding in their businesses, and therefore that helps my coaching business succeed. We are all interwoven and connected, and that's one thing that I've told my coaches: when I succeed, they succeed. When they succeed, I succeed. It really is. And I know people talk about pyramid schemes. It's actually not even a pyramid, because my coaching, I have to keep growing in order to help them. They have to keep, it's all interwoven. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I cannot succeed unless my coaches are rocking their businesses. So I have to invest time in them, which is part of what I do in my daily business. And then through sales, I sell things I love.
I was going to ask, is that like just Beachbody, or I also noticed the curly girl stuff?
Oh, a little bit of curly girl
rolling
stuff. You know, I have had some companies reach out to me that they saw I was loving their product, and they asked me to be an affiliate with them. So if people use my affiliate code, I earn a little kickback from that. And to me, I have had many companies reach out to me, but I'm pretty principled about it. I'm not just going to sell things for the sake of making money. Yeah. Which is hard, because I'd love to make more money to help support our family. I mean, that's just the truth of it. We have to put bread on the table, the breadwinner, whatever. We don't eat a lot of bread, actually.
I was literally about to go, is bread really part of...
No!
To put your... why am I drawing a blank?
My Shakeology on the table.
Yes, to put the Shakeology on the table.
Perfect. But, so I have picked ones that I buy them anyway. So I love them. I use them every single day. Therefore, and not only that, it's not even that I've used them. I have recommended them to people before I was an affiliate, and they loved them. So to me, seeing that people were getting good results and loving it as much as I was, I can get behind a company like that.
I appreciate so much your just kind of guarding that space, because I know one of the things when you start getting a larger following on social media, and it's good for people to know, is you will have more people approach you about representing or selling or whatever. And again, this isn't to bash people who just, hey, I got to make money somehow. But I think there is something so much more powerful, at least for me, even as I watch Instagram posts, when it's something somebody actually, like, no, they have used it, or it's made a difference in their life, whatever it is. So I'm going to shift a little bit here, because I'm interested to know, just kind of as a wrap up of this season of your life, you are a believer. You're living now with this following that is all over the map in terms of some people follow you for the hair tips, for fitness tips. Like you said, some people appreciate your faith. But what are some of the challenges that come with choosing to embrace a social media platform when you are very open about your faith, and not everybody that follows you necessarily is in line with your beliefs? What are some of the things? Maybe it's even like, I've had to put these guardrails in my life, or whatever it is, to guard yourself. But also, we talked earlier about having thick skin when the comments roll in.
There's something interesting to me about social media, that when someone is behind a keyboard, it's almost like they forget they're speaking to another human being. And I go, would you say that to my face? But you will type it in a DM to me. I will say, for the most part, because I am very open about Jesus. I'm very open. I've shared my testimony many times. I proclaim the name of Jesus very freely. And some of that came with a little bit of inner fear at first. What will people think? Will they unfollow me? Is my following going to go down? And I don't know. Just something hit me one time, and I thought, okay, then they can unfollow me. I hope they'll stick with me, because I try to share Jesus in a real way, and that I struggle and life is not perfect, but I'm just so thankful that I have that rock. For the most part, I have had pretty kind people. Even those, I had a great conversation with I could say her Instagram handle, and you would know right away that we are opposite people.
Gotcha.
We've had great dialogues. And I am so thankful I've been able to have that open door. And she follows me because of my hair, but she's willing to listen to me talk about Jesus. And I've been able to just build that rapport with her through my stories and being real. I've had some haters, as they say, and I just play Taylor Swift when that happens.
I was going to be like, T Swift has words about that.
I'm not even kidding. I do a little dance off and feel better. And I usually have a post the next day talking about, let's remember we're speaking to a human on the other side, and use it as an opportunity to educate. But for the most part, it's been surprisingly pleasant and overall a really good experience to be able to encourage people in Jesus openly.
One, I appreciate that for sure. Thank you, people, for being nice for the most part. But a lot of people, when we think social media, the danger of it is it becoming all-consuming. And obviously, as a believer, and you're looking at this as like a platform and opportunity to live out your calling, but this is not the world, like this is not the all-consuming of your life, like I am my Instagram. Tell me, along these last years, as you've gotten more involved in this, what are some things you've learned? Maybe you have, like, these are some rules for myself that I had to put in place to guard that, or these are things that I've learned that have just helped me keep this in perspective, because you just said it and I've heard it from others before. when you start getting more and more followers, that sometimes it can help with cushioning when people come and go. Sometimes it can become even more obsessive. Like, I don't want to lose any of these. Like, I'm finally getting traction. And keeping the perspective of what this is and what God's called you to do. What are some things you've learned along the way? Tips, tricks, oops, I did this terribly wrong, let me tell you about it.
Those are really, that's good. Those are good questions. Boundaries is like a word that pops up big in my mind. I have had to set boundaries for myself, and learning to put my phone down and be present with the people around me has been really, really good. And also, I think it's very easy. I get a lot of private messages. So I set specific times in my day to answer those, and I try and get through all of them. And then I will wait until the next time that I have scheduled, because otherwise I've even taken the dings off for notifications, because these people have real lives too. They're not expecting me to answer them immediately. Most people aren't.
Yeah.
They recognize that I have a life, they have a life. And so for me to put that pressure on myself was ridiculous. And I did that at first. Like, oh, I got a message back. Oh my goodness, I got messages. And it used to be like stressful that I had so many messages unanswered. Now I have a set time. I go through those messages and I try and think of that like this is my chance to minister to people, encourage them, and just be very intentional about it. I think as you grow, it's very easy to get caught up in people will send you free products, which is so much fun, for a free review. But I realized also that those reviews take time, and my time is so valuable because it doesn't mean something just to me. My time means something to my family first. And then those people that have invested, say, in my accountability groups and that type of thing. And I have to make sure that I'm not getting so caught up in, oh, it's so fun to get free stuff. Oh, yay, sure. It takes time to create content. Yeah. So I've had to learn to say, no, thank you. That's a wonderful offer, but that does not serve me or my followers. If it's something I know they would really be interested in, then I will sometimes say yes, but I've had to learn to be a lot more choosy about it. As far as like the whole likes and growing your page, that can totally turn into this like, oh my goodness, oh, we're getting close to 20K. Or, when I was really pushing for 10K, because you get the swipe up feature, like how cool is that?
Yeah.
It can be just, I had a huge bunch of people unfollowed me. And someone said something to me, and I can't remember who it was. I think I was about the 15K mark, which, whatever. And I just was consumed with growing my page. Well, I hadn't had a lot of followers in a while. And she just said, yeah, but look at, you have 15,000 people you get to minister to right now. Don't discount any of those followers for the ones that you might have tomorrow. And I was like, oh,
preach.
It was so good. I have to serve the people that are following me right now.
Yeah.
That's it. Whether I get to, that 20K that I would love, just because it's fun. It doesn't matter.
And that's 25 followers to 25 million followers. Right. It applies the same. Yes. Who's right in front of you?
I have to serve. I need to serve them well.
I just need to let that sink in for me for a minute. I think that's incredible. And honestly, as you sharing your story, a big part of this, and we talked about kind of entering the social media realm, one of the things I have so much appreciated, and part of why calling you back in here, is I think in the world where social media has such a huge presence, it is this massive platform that is being used for both good and terrible things, to see these lights shining. And my feed is one of those, when I'm looking at Instagram, there are those just handful of people that I know. It doesn't matter what day it is. If I click on their Insta story or whatever it is, it's going to be truth. It's going to be life. It's going to serve, be something that God uses to speak to my heart. And yours is one of those pages. Now, I don't have curly hair, so if anything, maybe it just feeds like hair envy. I don't know. I'm not one of the people that are like, I wish I had this. I have the hair that I have. But I think it does always encourage me whenever I see, and this is part of the whole thing, Hey Girl, right? When I see people using what God's given them with the people right in front of them to really proclaim who he is, to encourage other people, that encourages me. And it reminds me that I need to be doing the same thing in my lane, in my own race. So thank you. Thank you for your investment and the hours that you spend and all that goes into it. Now, here's the deal. Before I can let you go, I know. I have to do like rapid fire questions. Oh, yeah. It's important. So this season, we're not even fighting this, being a girly girl podcast. The name is Hey Girl, for goodness sake. So I decided I'd swing the pendulum into, fine, we're going to be every cliche opinion people have about girl podcasts, and we're going to feel our feelings for our...
I love it.
Now, I will give you the heads up that these don't have to be deep answers, or they can be. There's no wrong answer because they're your answers. So let's start with this. Danielle, what is something that makes you cry?
Oh, what is something that makes me cry? Oh, okay. This is the first thing that came to my mind, so I'm going to say it. This past year has been a hard transition year for us. And as a mom, I never realized how hard it would be to watch your children suffer. When we suffer ourselves, it's like, okay, yep, I get it, it's hard. But watching your children, these little creatures that you're supposed to be able to protect, watching them suffer is very hard. And I cried a lot this year.
I do not blame you.
Yeah.
So then what is something that scares you? Something that makes you want to pee your pants?
Something that scares me. I don't know.
Freddy Krueger entered the room right now.
Well, I mean, I will say Stranger Things season 3 kind of made me pee my pants.
I like that.
And it's not real, but it did. It scared me, okay?
This is a safe place. It's a safe place. What is something that makes you angry? Something that just now you got red hair, so I'm just...
A lot of things make me angry.
I was like, red hair has a
passionate person.
Reputation.
Something that makes me angry. Ooh, I don't know if I should say this out loud. I feel very angry when I see women stuck without good support and encouragement, and who feel like they can't get out of that place. My husband is extremely supportive. I mean, to a fault. And I'm so thankful for that. And I guess when I don't see even a little bit of that, sometimes I get very angry.
Like for those women.
Yes,
yeah.
I do. I do.
I get that. So then, in a world of crazy, busy, all the things, what's something that makes you feel rested?
I really, every day that I feel totally out of control crazy, I usually go curl up in bed with some tea and a really good book or a series I'm binging on Netflix. I have my little puppy, because I have the cutest puppy in the world, curled up on my lap, and that is like my rest. And sometimes my kids will come and they'll like be doing their own thing, hop into bed with me, and we will just chill. And that is my rest.
At the risk of sounding creepy, we have very similar rests. We should just curl up next to each other. My puppy on me, your puppy on you. No big deal.
We can plan like a chill day.
Yeah, kids coming and going. So then, what is something that makes you laugh?
Oh, my kids make me laugh. They're crazy.
Kids are hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Kids are hilarious. Danielle, this has been wonderful. And I've learned so much just sitting here and feeling super convicted about mine. It's been really good. So thank you for giving your time. We appreciate it.
That was so fun.
it was such a gift to have Danielle in my home, to spend some time with her and catching up and hearing more of her story. And I'm just so proud of her for the work that she's done, for the ministry and the platform that she has so faithfully stewarded. And I want to encourage you, if you don't already, you need to go find her on Instagram. In fact, I know it's bold to say, even if you don't have an Instagram account, it's worth making an Instagram account just so you can go find my girl Danielle. She's under Curly Fit Mom. So here's the deal. If you're just looking for encouragement, if you're looking everything from like spiritual encouragement to basic hair care for obviously Curly Fit Mom, curly hair to fitness, she's a Beachbody coach, and I'm going to put it out there because I know she wouldn't necessarily be all about advertising what she does. I did a program with her as a Beachbody coach, and it was incredible. If you have ever thought about doing this type of program, it's like you can work out from home. They have so many different things, and she has groups you can be in that are encouraging. And Danielle is just the best coach I've ever had in terms of just checking in and cheering me on. And to this day, I'm pretty sure the best results I've ever gotten from that type of a program came from the 80-day obsession program I did with Danielle. So much to offer. Go follow her. You can find her on Facebook too. But I want to encourage you to check her out. You won't regret it. It's just so encouraging. Here's the deal. Just like our guest last week, Danielle is going to be at our Simply Beautiful conference. What? I feel like Simply Beautiful is just a day that I get to gather all of my favorite people in one place. It almost feels selfish, except I'm offering it to you, so I guess that's not selfish. If you haven't yet, you should absolutely go register at simplybeautifulconference.com. It's November 23rd. It's in Hudson, Mass. at Grace Church. Danielle's going to be there just from last week. Spoiler alert, some other guests that are coming up are also going to be there, and I cannot wait. It's going to be an amazing day. So if you are a teen girl, a tween, is that what they're called? 11, 12, whatever. If you're a mom, if you're a youth leader, a mentor, an aunt, a grandmother, I don't care. As long as you're a girl, come on. It's going to be a good time. And I want to meet you. I would love, if we haven't already, meet you face to face. So simplybeautifulconference.com. Definitely go register for the conference. And before you even get to the end of this podcast, pause it. Go on Instagram, either make an account or sign in on your account and go follow Curly Fit Mom. You won't regret it. I love Danielle. She's so much fun. And as always, if you haven't followed us at Hey Girl Pod, Danielle is actually on the team helping us with our social media. So good things to come, all exciting. Thank you again so much for listening this week, for taking time out of your week. We really are just honestly, we feel humbled that we get to do this, to be a part of what God is doing through Hey Girl. And so if you have a few moments and you wouldn't mind, definitely leave a review, but also send us a message. It's good to hear from you and to know the different ways that God is moving and speaking. And if you've done it before, you know, typically I will send those messages not without your permission, but I'll send them on to our guests because it encourages them to know that their stories are just reaching and impacting so many people. So wherever you are this week, girlfriend, I am praying over you that you will continue to run your race in your place. We'll see you next week.